recording. Let's talk about a scenario first, okay? So we kind of can relate to ratios a little bit more. So in basketball practice, Kathlene made 17 baskets in 25 attempts. All right, some people already are like, oh, I remember more about ratios now because you remember problems that kind of sounded like this. So we can write a ratio to show and to compare the number of baskets she made to the number of attempts that she had, okay? And that would look like 17 over 25, right? Is there any other ways that I could write that you remember? Very good. You can have 17, the word to, T-O, and 25. That's another way to write a ratio. Very good. 17, those two dots in the middle are called a colon. 17 colon 25. So again, these are called ratios. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities. A comparison of two quantities, two numbers, two amounts, using division. Now, a fraction is division, 17 divided by 25. That's technically what this means, okay? And again, this is the three ways to write it. Order matters. Order matters a lot, okay? So this is baskets made, 2 attempts. Right? And a lot of times when it's given to you in the sentence, it is put in the order that they want it. So let's do a little bit of practice with writing some ratios. Here's the information that I'm going to first provide you. We're going to have a basket of fruit, a basket of fruit. In this basket, you have 6 apples, 4 bananas, and 3 oranges. So I'm going to give you a second to write that down. Again, in a basket of fruit, you have 6 apples, 4 bananas, and 3 oranges. That is just our information. We're not able to write any ratios yet. We haven't been asked anything. So I'm going to pause while you write that information down. All right, so I'm going to ask for a specific ratio. I would like the ratio of bananas to apples. So again, this order is important. The number for bananas has to be listed first. So the bananas is how many? 4. And the apples are 6. So 4, 2, 6. And they're going to ask you to write it in the other forms as well. Okay, so besides 4 to 6, what was one of the other ways I could write this? 4 over 6. And the third way was 4 colon 6. Okay. Any questions about that? Does that seem pretty easy so far? Yeah. Makes sense. All right, I'm going to scoot up a little bit. Now, unfortunately, my information about my apples, bananas, and oranges might go, but... Okay. Next one I would like is the ratio of bananas and apples. Whoops. To oranges. So this word to is important. Be looking for that word to, okay? Just like we had that word to in this one here. Bananas and apples together to oranges. The oranges is by itself. So when it's saying bananas and apples, what it's wanting us to do here is to combine those two amounts together. So bananas was how many? 4. and apples was, so 4 plus 6 is 10, and oranges is 3, so it's going to be 10 to 3. And then you'd want to write it in the other 3 forms as well. 10 over 3, 10 colon 3. And depending on what use you, like when you're using the ratios, that's when you would actually choose one of these specifically that you would want to work with. Okay. I personally like 10 colon 3 if I was going to write only one form, because I think it takes the least amount of writing, the least amount of space. But all right, we're going to do one more with our basket of fruit, and I'm going to have you try it on your own. Okay. I would like for you to find the ratio of oranges to total pieces of fruit. So again, oranges to total pieces of fruit. Go ahead and try that. So how many oranges do we have? 3. Now, total pieces of fruit. So we had 6 apples plus 4 bananas plus 3 oranges. How many total pieces of fruit are there? 13 total pieces of fruit. So we had to find that information, okay, before we were able to write our ratio. So again, we want to write the ratio using all 3 forms. So someone give me one of the forms. Matthew? 3 to 13. Luke? 3 colon 13, good. And 3 over 13. Alright, good. So we feel okay about those, yes? Those are easy, wonderful. Okay, now there were a couple of these that I could have simplified. So you can simplify a ratio. But you don't need to simplify unless it's asking you to simplify, okay? So today when you get the assignment, if it doesn't say you have to simplify, then you don't need to. Now, you can if you want to, if you want to like just do it because you feel like it. But you definitely don't have to simplify unless it says that you should, okay? For instance, if I was talking about a middle school, okay, and at the middle school there are 252 students in the 7th grade, and there are 9 7th grade teachers. And I wanted to know what the ratio was of students to teachers. Students to teachers. So I could write this 252 over 9. Now I know that 252 is a bigger number, so trying to think about how to simplify this might not be the easiest thing. What do you know though about dividing the divisibility rules for like a number? Like how would you know if 252 was divisible by something? Alright, so if it ends in an even number, it's divisible by 2, right? But is 9 divisible by 2? What numbers is 9 divisible by? 3 and 9. 3 and 9. So would 252 be divisible by either one of those? Do we know the rule for 3 and 9, the divisibility rule? Remember it? Remember we said if you add up the digits, 2 plus 5 plus 2. So if the sum of the digits, when you add them up, is divisible by 3 or 9, then it's divisible by 3 or 9. So you could actually divide this by 3, and you could divide it by 9. Now, maybe you think it might be easier to divide it by 3 first. You could do that, but we can just do, you won't have any with huge numbers, okay? So 9 goes into 25 twice, right? Because 3 would be 27. So 2 times 9 is 18. Bring down your 2. 9 goes into 72 8 times. So if I divided this by 9, I'd get 28 over what? What's 9 divided by 9? 1. So what does that mean then? So again, our information was there for 252 7th grade students, there were 9 teachers. What does 28 to 1 mean then? For every 28 students, there is 1 teacher. That's what that means. Now, I think that's a little bit more meaningful when you look at it like this, when it's simplified. Because when it's like this, you can't really tell, well, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Are there a lot of kids per teacher or are there not that many kids per teacher? But when you do it like this, then you can kind of see. Now, just so you guys know, something that when they set up classes and they figure out how many teachers that they need to hire, they look to see how many total students do they have, and they divide it, I think they do it like by 25, so that for every 25 students there is 1 teacher. So they use that ratio, okay? And I say they, and I mean like the superintendent and stuff when they're saying how many teachers they need to hire. All right? All right, we're going to do one more example of how to compare ratios. So again, we're going to do this last example, and then you'll have the rest of the time to work on your assignment. So let's say that we had a bag of marbles, and we have 2 people. We have Dina, we have Dawn. Okay. Dina has a bag of marbles, Dawn has a bag of marbles. There are red marbles. There are blue marbles, and there are yellow marbles. And we'll tell you how many that each person has in just a second. Alright, so again, there's Dina and there's Dawn. They each have a bag of marbles, and in that bag of marbles there are red marbles, blue marbles, and yellow marbles. In Dina's bag, she has 6 red, 8 blue, and 10 yellow. And in Dawn's bag, he has 11 red, 7 blue, and 18 yellow. So this is like just information that is given to us. Lots of information, but we haven't been asked any question yet. As you're finishing up your information chart, I'm going to write the question, okay? Whose bag has the greater ratio of yellow to total? So there's that 2, okay? Whose bag has the greater ratio of yellow to total? So we need to first figure out Dina's ratio, then we need to figure out Dawn's ratio, and then we need to compare those ratios. Okay, so let's go for Dina first, and I'm going to use red for Dina. So in Dina's bag of marbles, how many yellow marbles does she have? 10. And how many total marbles does she have? We're looking only at Dina. Total. 24. 10 over 24, okay? We might need to simplify it, but for right now I'm just going to leave it as is. Now I'm going to look at Dawn. How many yellow marbles does Dawn have? 18. How many total marbles does Dawn have? 36. I'll raise this up some. Does everyone see where we got the 24 and the 36 from? So again, we got the 24 from doing 6 plus 8 plus 10 to get our 24 total. And then for Dawn, We did 11 plus 7 plus 18 to get 36 for the total. Okay. So how can we compare, how can we tell which one's bigger? This fraction, this ratio, or that fraction? What are some options that we have to do that? Luke? Well, true, 18 does go into 36 twice, but this would mean, how many times does 36 go into 18? But we can simplify it, if you want. Alright, so we could write this as a half. That might help us. What can we do over here to help us? Divide, what do you mean? Divide by 10? Well, this would be 10 divided by 24. It's always top divided by bottom. You could divide by 2. We could simplify it, right? So if we divide by 2, that would give me 5 over 12, right? Now, if I'm comparing fractions, I need to have common denominators. Again, if I'm comparing fractions, I need common denominators. So could I make my denominator over there, the 1/2, could I make it a 12? 1/2 would be what over 12? Very good. 6 over 12. 6 over 12 is 1/2 compared to 5 over 12. So now that we have the same denominators, again, 5 12s and 6 12s, which one's actually bigger? 6 12s is bigger than 5 12s, yes. So whose bag has the greater ratio of yellow to total? That would be Dawn's bag. So in this one, we had to look at all that information, pull out just the part that we needed to figure out the ratio for Dina. We figured out the ratio for Dawn, and then we had to figure out how to compare those two fractions. Okay, and we found the common denominator in order to be able to do that. All right, so I'm going to give you your assignment. We have 18 minutes left of class, so you do have a good bit of time to work on it. One side is pretty quick. One side's kind of like a puzzle, and it's pretty quick. The other side, I think it only has like 10 questions or so. And some of them, you have to think a little bit. I think there's only one that's like complicated like this, though. Okay? Let me get that to you.